Some of you have been asking what's next in the effort to keep the Republican Party pro-life. What will happen to the minority report that we've talked about? And how can you help stand for the unborn? But before I get to that, I want to kind of continue this conversation, although it will be with myself, regarding, well, you, that we just had with Tara. I mean, I hope you were disturbed by that. The fact that we are attracting children, paying for it, funding children to come into this country, handed over to, in not all cases, but there's an abundance of evidence to suggest it's happening a lot, allowing children to be exploited, to be put to labor, in some cases sexually exploited. I don't know about you, but that bothers me. And as taxpayers, we're funding that. But that really does tie into what I want to talk about now, and that is the Republican Party backing away from its staunch position on life. How do you get to a point where you can use a child for your own purposes? Well, it's when you lose the fact that they are created in the image of God and therefore they have value. And that's why it hasn't been perfect by any means. But the Republican Party staking out that ground for the last 40 years, recognizing that a child is created in the image of God, therefore worthy to be protected and welcomed into our world and protected under our laws, while aspirational, has been significant. And now the party's departing from that. I, for one, I refuse to go with the winds of the culture. I believe as Bible-believing Christians, we must stand for truth, whether the current popular political party or candidate stands with that or not. I don't care. I'm going to stand on truth. Now, you'll say, well, why are you involved in the party, Republican Party? Well, because in our political system, we have two parties. And you've got to be involved in one or the other if you want to make an impact on the political process. And for years, Christians have increasingly been attracted to the Republican Party because of its definitive recognition of God as the author of life and the one who gives us our rights. They don't come from government, they come from God. And the party has recognized it until now. In the 2016 platform, 2020 platform, there were 15 references to God. In this one, 2 passing references. And by the way, for my fellow Second Amendment supporters, no reference to the Second Amendment in this platform. None. Zero. Now, let's get to the issue of life. This platform is woefully inadequate in communicating a definitive position on the protection of human life. Now, as a delegate to this committee, and I've served on a number of committees in the past, I would describe this platform as, a concise statement of campaign priorities, but not a bold, enduring declaration of principles like Ronald Reagan called for in 1976 that really launched the Republican Party into being the majority party. And worse than the actual document was the process. It was a choreographed process overseen by a very heavy-handed chairperson. And this is, I don't like to call names because so many of these people are my friends, but Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn was unbelievable. I mean, it was shocking. They allowed for no amendments or discussion before forcing a scripted vote. Now, this process done in secrecy behind closed doors, quite frankly, is unbecoming of a party that champions free speech and due process. Ironically, the document itself calls for vigorous defense of free speech and the end of government censorship. Well, deprived of the opportunity to actually discuss this so-called draft document and strengthen the weak platform that lacked the party's historical stand for the unborn, there was a group of us delegates that have submitted a minority report to supplement the platform. Now, we could use your help, because the party needs to know that they cannot deviate from these non-negotiable issues. The issue of the sanctity of human life. And by the way, its statement of marriage was very weak and open to interpretation. They need to hear from you. The delegates had basically a gag rule put on them. Their phones taken. Media was not allowed in. So most people don't know what happened in the room. But fortunately, I have a microphone, and I can tell you, it was despicable. It was disgusting. It was not befitting of a party that claims to be a defender of law and order, due process, and the freedom of speech. It's certainly not a party that claims to protect the unborn. So I want to challenge you to stand with us and send a message to the chairman of the Republican Party, Michael Whatley, and to the chairman of the Platform Committee, who is the one who oversaw this process. That is Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. Let them know that this is not acceptable, that you want a party, you want representatives who will stand for the unborn, recognize that our rights come from God, and not silence the voice of those they disagree with. Text the word report to 67742. That's report to 67742, and you'll have a link so you can take action. They need to hear from you. They've heard from me. They need to hear from you. Text report to 67742. That's report to 67742. Please stand with me as we stand with children and the defenseless of this country.